this should be part 3, I believe, of the bouncy balls. So let me just double check that everything is streaming, and we will put the chat open just in case anyone decides to join us. What are the chances of people joining the stream? Very low, unless Dilshan or that other guy comes. Very low. Before I start, I just want to take a brief chat, just have a brief moment to chat about just streaming stuff in general. Obviously, it's been a while since my last stream, and yeah, it's mostly you could consider it procrastination, but also I've been trying to, do a lot. I've been trying to relax, trying to do a lot of thinking, trying to stream at a good time. Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry, just give me a second. Give me 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds. So yeah, I've been thinking like, if I should continue doing the streaming or because I kind of felt a bit more confident, and part of me was like, you've done a bit of streaming, you're feeling confident, but maybe you should move on to trying to do the videos. Trying to do those slightly more, sort of project type things. And well, I'm not really sure. But I still said to myself, well, but still, you should finish off the streams you committed to doing. So, I still have this stream to finish off this bouncy ball project. What else? The one about geodesics on the Earth. Maybe we'll do that one. And also, I did say I would stream Mega Man. We'll see. Also, I realized, but I forgot to mention, not that it's really that important to mention, but yeah, I realized that my Slime Rancher stream that I didn't work at all. Apparently, I don't have the graphics processing capabilities to stream a 3D game, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, but my guess is that OBS you need the graphics card to in order to encode the stream, and so by that logic, right, playing a game that you also uses the graphics card means that takes up the space, means that takes up the resources needed to encode the stream properly. So that is my guess for probably what was happening. And then I guess the audio stream is either done separately or is done on the CPU, is done like separately on the CPU or separately on the GPU. I'm not sure, but it must be done because the audio came through fine, or it's prioritized. I'm not quite sure exactly. But yeah, so that's one thing, is that. So yeah, depending on how I feel about this, how things go, I may decide to continue going with these streams to try and build I was feeling pretty confident. I was thinking to myself, I'm just gonna go forward. I'm just gonna go for it. I don't care. I'm not gonna worry too much about like what people are gonna think or whatever. I'm overthinking it. Stuff like that. I should just go for it. But oh, sorry, just give me a second. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna need to give it a bit of a think. But we'll see how it goes. So I always forget how actually nerve-wracking this is. I always think, oh, it's gonna be relaxing. I want to relax, but then I actually do it, and like, just it is a bit nerve-wracking. And I think I do have to get used to that. Maybe that's a reason to keep doing the streaming, I'm not sure. Or maybe that's just to say, like, yeah, even if you do the video, well, we'll see. Maybe it's nerve-wracking, maybe it's not, but, like, I'll figure it out. So just give me a sec, give me a sec. What I have found is that after I did do the streams, especially, after I did do the streams, on the days after the streams, it seemed to have a good effect it seemed to have a good effect on me. It seemed to help with my mental health a bit. It seemed to help clarify things, help me figure out a couple of things more easily, or make decisions a bit more easily, like my gut, so to speak, subconscious or whatever you want to call it, like my gut feelings of like what's a good idea, what's a bad idea. I had a bit more like clear response, because normally I find myself quite indecisive, like, oh, should I do this, should I do that? And even now it's like, even if I switch to video, like, how exactly should I do it? Like, I know I want to record in front of a whiteboard for like explanations, but how do I want to do the non-explanation part? Do I want to like plan it out, or do I want it to be bits and pieces, or I mean, I know I want it to be somewhat scripted, semi-scripted, but like how exactly? Or do I want it to be more, I don't know how to say it. Or do I want it to be more like this, or is it not really matter, or am I overthinking it? Sorry, just give me a sec. Probably just overthinking it. Sorry, just give me a sec. My gut helps me. Sorry. Oh, just a second. We're almost done. We're almost done. I'll start the streams proper soon. It's the intro, so sorry, forget about it. Sorry. You'll have to. I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna pause for a bit. I don't know how to. Okay, and we're back. Yeah, one thing is like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? I just unpaused and the freaking dog barks. This always happens. I don't know why. I mean, not really, but like it feels. All right, we're pausing the stream again. I need to I don't know what the word is. Yeah, sorry about that. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, my mental health is fucking horrible. Has been for years now. Can't make decisions, can't think properly. It's so bad. Had to quit. Not quit. Technically, I'm still enrolled and I could go back, but like, had to pause uni. Couldn't do homework. It's not good. Anyway, I was going to say is like I used to be able to, or at least it felt like I used to be able to rest on a problem. If I couldn't figure it out, I would rest on it, and that would help me sort of figure it out how I wanted to go about it and stuff, and sort things out. But like, or at least that would feel better. But like with depression, or else, you know, it's becomes harder and harder. I feel like I'm doing a bit better now with the medicine I'm on, which is maybe what's allowed me to start working on these streams and stuff. But you know, I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell, and it feels like you know, you take one step forward, two steps back, or you know, two steps forward, one step back. You know, it's hard to tell really if I'm making progress or not. Right? Because for a second there, you know, it seems like I'm doing better. Like I'm streaming. I started streaming. I did well. I started doing it more. I started doing a bit, you know, and then I don't stream for like a couple weeks, and it's like, well, you know, what are you doing? And the other thing is like, as soon as I'm like, okay, great, I'm done with that. Now I need to, but I don't really know if it's good or bad. My brain keeps telling my gut is telling me like, you have to move backward, or you have to move backward to move. You have to move forward to move. You have to move backward to, but you need to move forward to move back, something like that, or whatever. The point is like, you need to be able. If I want to be able to do the stuff I really want to do, like videos and stuff, I feel like I have all these projects that on the back burner that are like piling up in my mind, that have been on my mind since a long, long time ago. And there's so many of them. I would have to write them down on the list. I probably wouldn't even be able to. I don't know if I'd simply be able to think of them all. It's a good idea to write that list on the stream. Is then sort of you know, blog, have sort of a sort of thing I can show people accomplish these, you know, maybe they can understand me, not that people can correctly writing down kind of cover. You could just ask.
or something like that. Sorry, just give me a sec. I'm actually having OCD right now. That was supposed to be a demonstration, but I was also actually doing it. I was kind of using it as an excuse. Clever, eh? Not really. Yeah. I try to blend in the OCD as much as possible to like try and make it look as normal and not weird as possible. And it's not always, it's not always possible, not always easy. But if I can make it look like I'm just itching myself or scratching myself like a normal person, just like maybe I'm just a very itchy person, like this or something, it helps, makes things less awkward. The last thing I want is people staring at me or thinking I'm weird. Not that I really care. Like it's not much I can do about it if they do. Like they probably just think I have Tourette's anyway. So it's like, what you gonna do? I'd rather people just be like, oh, he must have Tourette's or something, or oh, he must have something a little off with him, than people thinking like, oh, he's insane or he's gonna fucking kill me. I don't fucking know what people think. Who knows? But yeah, I just deal with it. Sorry. Give me a sec. Sorry, I don't know. I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure how I got on this topic. Sorry, just give me a sec. All right, I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure where I was going with all of that. But that's streaming for you. That's airing out your problems via internet internet talking there for you, eh? Not necessarily. I mean, whatever's, Anxiety's gonna anxiety, right? I do definitely talk a bit more coherently when I like talk to actual people, but it's like right now it's literally just like literally almost I'm almost definitely sure that no one is watching. So it's like, but I still feel like I should talk because that's like what you're supposed to do, because like otherwise you're not going to retain anyone. So I'm just kind of dozing random things out there, trying to get what's on my mind off my mind, trying to use this as a bit of an outlet, and hopefully that works. So just all right, no, for real, give me the second. Oh my gosh. Sorry if this looks weird, but anyway, I don't know why I'm wearing these headphones. I'm not listening to anything. I actually really can't because these headphones don't. Like if I listen to a music or something, even though I've muted the actual volume on the music, so like it won't directly go to the stream. Uh, I did test it out briefly, and there is a slight leak of the audio from here to the microphone that you would be able to hear on Twitch or YouTube, and I don't want to get copyright struck for that or anything. Is that how it works? Is like copyright. If you get a copyright strike, is the past tense of that, or I guess technically is the past participle copyright struck? Like, if someone strikes me, I'm I, I've I've got I've been struck, right? Who knows? Anyway, point being is last time I went on a bit of a tangent. I tried to explain like the whole ball bouncing dropping thing, and I'm thinking maybe I could do a better job of that. Like now that I've gone through that, I think I maybe overcomplicated it. It really depends, because I was really inspired by that video I saw to try and think about it in that manner, as opposed to the original manner, the simpler way of thinking about it. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to tackle that or what to do. It's kind of like, it almost makes me think like, wow, if I didn't see that other video, then maybe I would have an easier time, because then I would have just done it the way I was going to do it before, and just explain like, look, you want to make sure that the ball is going up with the same speed when it goes down as when it goes up again. If your ball, if you are moving the ball, then decreasing the speed, then, increasing the downwards acceleration, then having the bounce calculation, what you're going to end up doing is have it going down with 3 speed and going back up the next frame with 4 speed, and it's going to end up 1 pixel above where it was and it's going to be going up to that up from that pixel with 3 speed. So not only are you 1 pixel above where you were meant to be, you also have a way much higher speed. Really, you should be, because if you imagine you're at position 1, you go down 2 pixels, then you go down 3 pixels. If you're bouncing, then you need to go back up 3 pixels, and then when you're at when you're at the original position that you were going down 3 pixels at, right? Okay, let's do this properly. Let's do this properly. Let's simplify this. Let's do this. I mean, granted, the other video I was talking about with the integration stuff, like, it does work out in this case, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how exactly. I don't really have the. I'm not sure how to figure out the significance of it. Maybe later I will. Maybe on my own time thinking. But at the moment, I've just got so much on my mind. I don't know if I can really think about it. So let's just imagine, right? You have a ball. It's here and it's about to go up by 1 pixel. Let's say this is the position axis and this is the time axis. So let's just draw out some arrows, right? This is time and sorry, no, that's not time. This is time and this is your Y position, right? Then your ball, we can draw. Let's see if I can find a little arrow thing. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Can't I find a better arrow? I suppose not. Well, whatever's. Let's just use like a little. Let's just say, let's say over here the ball has a +1 velocity, right? So it's about to head up, and the ball is going to end up after 1 second at this point here with 0 velocity. Then since it has 0 velocity now, because you move the ball, then you recalculate the velocity, right? Or something like that, right? Anyway, so then after that, the ball has, that velocity, then it goes down then it's going down. Now it has -1 velocity, and then on the next frame it moves down. Then it moves down by -2, and finally it moves down by -3, right? So we have -1 velocity, then -2 velocity. Let's mark this off as 1, and then -3 velocity, although that does look like a straight line, doesn't it? But let's just say that it's 2 positions. What you ideally want is, let's say it passes the floor. Let's say this somewhere here. Let's say the floor is somewhere here, right? And we want it to bounce back up. If we first swap the velocity, change the velocity from -3 to -4, then do the bounce calculation, realize we're under the floor, and change the velocity to be +4, we are going to end up bouncing back up to here. We're going to go up, and end up at we're going to end up 1 above where we were when we went down by 2 and we're going down by 3. We don't want that. We want it so that whenever we get back to this point here, right, we want to go to the same points. When we go from here, since we were going down by 2 to get from this point to this point, we want to go up by 2 from this point to this point. Or in other words, if we had a velocity of -3 here, we want to have a velocity of +2 when we get back there. Or since we had a velocity of -2 when we came to this point, we want to have a velocity of +2 when we get back to it. So that way we travel. So since we've gone down to this point here, this bottom point here with a velocity of -3, we want to make sure that when we move back up, we also have velocity of +3. So I think that really I think when you look at it from that perspective, it becomes really easy to see why you need to split the velocity calculation. If we change from -3 to -4 and then flip it, we end up at +4. That's too high. Too much velocity, and the position is too high. Because we're looking for a position here, a position of 3 above the floor, or 3 above this point, and a velocity of +2, right? So, but we ended up 4 above with a velocity of +3. Not good. If we flip it first from -3 to +3, then decrease the velocity to -2. Sorry, if we sorry, let me try that again. If we have our calculation such that we move, then such that we calculate velocity, then move, then calculate bounce. And you can imagine we're about to move, right? So we move down -3, then we calculate the bounce, that gives us +3. Then we change the velocity, which brings us down to a velocity of +2, and then we move, right? Which would make us end up here. Then we would decrease the velocity again, and we would actually end up moving here again. So this, you can see, also doesn't work because we actually end up with a +2 originally, and when we actually get to here, we only end up 2 above with a velocity of 1, and then we end up here with a velocity of 0, and so we've lost a lot of energy. So what we want to do is counteract both of those effects, where we have added 1 or decreased 1 from the velocity at this point before it moves. If we imagine that we go down by 3, if we imagine, that we've just gone down by 3, and we're just about to do the bounce. We just moved down by 3, right? So since we've just moved, and we have a half a velocity change both before and after, we're gonna decrease the velocity. We're gonna add -0.5 to the velocity, so it's gonna become -3.5. Then we're gonna do the bounce check. Then it's gonna become +3.5. Then we're gonna -1.5 again. It's gonna become +3. Finally, then we're going to move it, and we're gonna end up here. From then on, since we're not bouncing anymore, we end up taking away half a velocity point as per usual, but we do that twice, so we end up going from 3 down to 2.5 and then down to 2, so we still end up here. So it works out. There is another way of thinking about it in terms of the whole integral thing, where, if you imagine taking an average over time, we're starting out with our velocity at +3, at -3. Over time, it goes to -3, and then it ends up at +3, right? But what actually happens is it actually ends up at -3.5, and then ends up at +3.5, right? Between the frames. But this area of -3 and this area of -3.5 and +3.5 cancel out, and it all works out that on average the velocity is 0, so to speak, once it gets yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later. We'll do it later or not. Doesn't really matter. But that's the basic gist of things. I don't know if we need a second explanation. I'll figure it out later if I decide to do it for the actual video, If I think it through, then yeah. So anyway, the next step, what we want to do is we want to do some physics, right? So we don't just want to have these balls randomly bouncing around, we actually want to bounce them into each other. So what I thought I'd do is, oh yeah, I just realized we have our I just remembered that we are doing the bouncy balls. Great. And if I recall correctly, yes, we are splitting the X and Y velocity updates. And we also have this somewhat little shoddy, but it'll do for the moment, calculation for the bounces. Now, one thing we want to do, it's kind of funny thinking about it. I really do feel like I should be doing a video instead. Like if I've got it planned out already, I might as well do a video. Oh well, whatever. We'll figure it out. Anyway, one thing I want to try and do is start with collisions in one dimension. I think that would be a good place to start. So the fun thing about the thing about collisions in one dimension is that they're actually pretty easy to do, in the sense that maybe I don't know, we'll figure it out. Pretty easy to do in the sense that like relatively, you'll see. So imagine we have collisions in one dimension, right? We have two balls, each with their own mass and velocity heading at each other. And the thing about this one-dimensional collision is it's actually not too hard to figure out what the answer is, because there are only as it turns out, you'll only find two possible answers, and only one of them will actually be the right answer for like after a collision. We'll see. So if you imagine two balls colliding, they start far apart, they're heading towards each other, then after some time, they'll bounce and they'll end up heading away from each other. Or perhaps if one of them is really heavy, it might actually keep going in the same direction as the other one. One of them is going to have to change direction, probably, right? But for simplicity, let's just say that imagine that they are going to head in opposite directions, right? Now, to help clarify things, what we're actually going to do is we're going to standardize that going to the right is our going to the right is the positive x direction, or positive I direction, I suppose. In the x-axis is our positive I direction, and we actually don't need a y direction, so I don't know why I drew that. Let's say that is positive. Let's say, yeah, okay. So we'll say that going to the right is positive. Okay? Cool. Then each ball has its own velocity and mass. And from that, we can calculate their energy and momentum. And we can easily figure out what is going to happen by simply using the law of conservation of energy and the law of conservation of momentum, right? So if we go, we know that the initial energy is going to be equal to the final energy. And the initial energy is going to be equal to the kinetic energy of ball 1, the initial kinetic energy of ball 1, plus the initial kinetic energy of ball 2. And the final energy is going to be equal to the final kinetic energy of ball 1. Oh my gosh. Let's write this out properly. The initial
kinetic energy is equal to the final kinetic energy. And the initial momentum is equal to the final momentum. So let's just define our terms. We have 4 variables. We have mass 1, mass 2, the initial velocity of mass 1, the initial velocity of mass 2, and also, let's say, oh my gosh, what is going on here? That doesn't seem to be working. That's a bit weird. And also I kind of screwed it up something. The final velocity of mass 1 and the final velocity of mass 2. So these are our variables that we're going to use. And we're just going to, for simplicity's sake, we are just going to, let's write things out in full. So the initial kinetic energy of the whole of the system the initial kinetic energy of the system is equal to the initial kinetic energy of the first ball plus the initial kinetic energy of the second ball, right? Let's replace this kinetic energy of the first ball with our proper function. We know that kinetic energy is mass times velocity squared divided by 2. So it's actually going to be mass 1 times, it's going to be mass 1 times the initial velocity of mass 1 squared, and then all of that is going to be divided by 2. And also on the other hand, right, if I just copy and paste that, I'm also going to have plus the initial velocity of mass 2, right? And we're going to have all of that equal to the final velocity of mass 1, sorry, the final kinetic energy of mass 1, plus the final kinetic energy of mass 2. And let me just straighten out all the equations. Now, there is a factor of a half in all of these terms that we can just pull out by multiplying everything by 2. So instead of having that factor, we'll just say mass times velocity squared plus mass times velocity squared equals mass times velocity squared plus mass times velocity squared. So here is our complicated looking equation. It would look much better on a whiteboard, but I can't be bothered. Like, I could be using latex, but honestly, I'm just going to do this because I feel like I'm going to be planning on using a whiteboard later on anyway, so we'll just go with this for the typing. Just give me a sec. Oh my gosh. Alrighty. Man, I hope I'm not muted. Okay, I'm not muted. Thank God. Alright. So, yeah. I thought I'm charging. Am I not? I'm pretty sure I'm charging. Not sure why that happened. So anyway, so this is our first step. This is for our conservation of energy and momentum, obviously. Now, one important step we can do is we actually should convert this
into, we actually can convert we actually want to convert our kinetic energy from being in terms of mass and velocity to being in terms of mass and momentum. And the reason we want to do that is because we also have our other equation for initial momentum equals final momentum, right? There's actually some things we can do to really simplify this equation, really by thinking about how forces work and how is exchanged via impulse. Really simplify the problem in a way, but maybe we'll see. Well, actually, why don't we just to see the difference in can solve it. So this is one equation. This is our first equation. Let's get ourselves some more space. Right? Now we also want to have our equation in terms of momentum, and momentum we know is just mass times velocity. So mass 1 times velocity 1 initial plus mass 2 times velocity 2 initial, right, is equal to mass 1 times velocity 1 final plus mass 2 times velocity 2 final, right? So that's that set of it. Oh my gosh. I guess that'll have to do. Damn it.